Hi, today we are going to study about renewable energy. Renewable energy is energy that is collected from renewable resources that are naturally replenished on a human timescale. It includes sources such as sunlight, wind, water, rain, tides, waves, and geothermal heat. Although most renewable energy sources are sustainable, some are not. For example, some biomass sources are considered unsustainable at current rates of exploitation. Renewable energy often provides energy for electricity generation to a grid, air and water heating/cooling, and standalone power systems. About 20% of humans' global energy consumption is renewables, including almost 30% of electricity. About 7% of energy consumption is traditional biomass, but this is declining. Over 4% of energy consumption is heat energy from modern renewables, such as solar water heating, and over 6% electricity. There are 5 major renewable energy sources. 1. Solar energy from the sun. 2. Geothermal energy from heat inside the earth. 3. Wind energy. 4. Biomass from plants. 5. Hydropower from flowing water. Globally, there are over 10 million jobs associated with the renewable energy industries, with solar photovoltaics being the largest renewable employer. Renewable energy systems are rapidly becoming more efficient and cheaper, and their share of total energy consumption is increasing, with a large majority of worldwide newly installed electricity capacity being renewable. In most countries, photovoltaic solar or onshore wind are the cheapest new-build electricity. Many nations around the world have renewable energy contributing more than 20% of their total energy supply, with some generating over half their electricity from renewables. A few countries generate all their electricity using renewable energy. National renewable energy markets are projected to continue to grow strongly in the 2020s and beyond. Studies have shown that a global transition to 100% renewable energy across all sectors, power, heat, transport and desalination, is feasible and economically viable. Renewable energy resources exist over wide geographical areas, in contrast to fossil fuels, which are concentrated in a limited number of countries. Deployment of renewable energy and energy efficiency technologies is resulting in significant energy security, climate change mitigation, and economic benefits. However, renewables are being hindered by hundreds of billions of dollars of fossil fuel subsidies. In international public opinion surveys, there is strong support for renewables such as solar power and wind power. But the International Energy Agency said in 2021 that to reach net zero carbon emissions, more effort is needed to increase renewables, and called for generation to increase by about 12% a year to 2030. Renewable energy technology projects are typically large-scale, but they are also suited to rural and remote areas and developing countries, where energy is often crucial in human development. As most of the renewable energy technologies provide electricity, renewable energy is often deployed together with further electrification, which has several benefits. Electricity can move heat or objects efficiently, and is clean at the point of consumption. In addition, electrification with renewable energy is more efficient and therefore leads to significant reductions in primary energy requirements. In 2021, China accounted for almost half of the global increase in renewable electricity. Renewable energy stands in contrast to fossil fuels, which are being used far more quickly than they are being replenished. Renewable energy resources and significant opportunities for energy efficiency exist over wide geographical areas, in contrast to other energy sources, which are concentrated in a limited number of countries. Rapid deployment of renewable energy and energy efficiency, and technological diversification of energy sources, would result in significant energy security and economic benefits. Solar and wind power have got much cheaper. In some cases, it will be cheaper to transition to these sources as opposed to continuing to use the current, inefficient, fossil fuels. It would also reduce environmental pollution such as air pollution caused by the burning of fossil fuels, and improve public health, reduce premature mortalities due to pollution, and save associated health costs that could amount to trillions of dollars annually. Multiple analyses of decarbonization strategies have found that quantified health benefits can significantly offset the costs of implementing these strategies. Climate change concerns, coupled with the continuing fall in the costs of some renewable energy equipment, such as wind turbines and solar panels, are driving increased use of renewables. New government spending, regulation and policies help the industry weather the global financial crisis better than many other sectors. As of 2019, however, according to the International Renewable Energy Agency, renewables' overall share in the energy mix, including power, heat and transport, needs to grow 6 times faster in order to keep the rise in average global temperatures well below 2.0 degrees Celsius, 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit during the present century, compared to pre-industrial levels. A household's solar panels, and batteries if they have them, can often either be used for just that household, or if connected to an electrical grid can be aggregated with millions of others. Over 44 million households use biogas made in household-scale digesters for lighting and or cooking, and more than 166 million households rely on a new generation of more efficient biomass cook stoves. According to the research, a nation must reach a certain point in its growth before it can take use of more renewable energy. In our words, its addition changed how crucial input factors, labor and capital, connect to one another, lowering their overall elasticity and increasing the apparent economies of scale. United Nations 8th Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has said that renewable energy has the ability to lift the poorest nations to new levels of prosperity. At the national level, at least 30 nations around the world already have renewable energy contributing more than 20% of energy supply. Although many countries have various policy targets for longer-term shares of renewable energy, these tend to be only for the power sector, including a 40% target of all electricity generated for the European Union by 2030. Renewable energy often displaces conventional fuels in 4 areas: electricity generation, hot water/space heating, transportation, and rural off-grid energy services. More than a quarter of electricity is generated from renewables as of 2021. Solar water heating makes an important contribution to renewable heat in many countries, most notably in China, which now has 70% of the global total, 180 GWth. Most of these systems are installed on multifamily apartment buildings and meet a portion of the hot water needs of an estimated 50-60 million households in China. Worldwide, total installed solar water heating systems meet a portion of the water heating needs of over 70 million households. In Sweden, national use of biomass energy has surpassed that of oil. Heat pumps provide both heating and cooling, and also flatten the electric demand curve, and are thus an increasing priority. Renewable thermal energy is also growing rapidly. About 10% of heating and cooling energy is from renewables. One of the efforts to decarbonize transportation is the increased use of electric vehicles, EVs. 51. Despite that and the use of biofuels, such as biojet, less than 4% of transport energy is from renewables. Occasionally hydrogen fuel cells are used for heavy transport. From around 2010 onwards, the geopolitical impact of the growing use of renewable energy has been discussed. Some argue that former fossil fuels exporters will experience a weakening of their position in international affairs, while countries with abundant renewable energy resources will be strengthened. Also, some countries rich in critical materials for renewable energy technologies are expected to rise in importance in international affairs. The Gegalo Index of Geopolitical Gains and Losses assesses how the geopolitical position of 156 countries may change if the world fully transitions to renewable energy resources. Former fossil fuels exporters are expected to lose power, while the positions of former fossil fuel importers and countries rich in renewable energy resources is expected to strengthen. Several requirements and decisions that may be tied with geopolitical considerations are the sourcing of required materials, ownership of key infrastructure assets, and the design of grids, including supergrids. Transitions to renewable energy have many geopolitical implications, such as the potential of revenue losses leading to political instability and insufficiently prepared fossil fuel exporting economies, albeit it is unclear whether the transition will increase or reduce conflict overall. In particular, a study hypothesizes that a configuration emerges in which fossil fuel importers are better off decarbonizing, competitive fossil fuel exporters are better off flooding markets, and uncompetitive fossil fuel producers, rather than benefiting from free riding, suffer from their exposure to stranded assets and lack of investment in decarbonization technologies. A study found that transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy systems reduces risks from mining, trade and political dependence, because renewable energy systems don't need fuel, they depend on trade only for the acquisition of materials and components during construction. Nations rich in solar and wind energy could become major energy exporters. Trade in hydrogen could fundamentally redraw the geography of the global energy trade, and international governance and investments that seek to scale up the hydrogen economy could reduce the risk of market fragmentation, carbon lock-in, and intensified geo-economic rivalry. Moving to modern renewable energy has very large health benefits due to reducing air pollution from fossil fuels. Renewable sources other than biomass such as wind power, photovoltaics, and hydroelectricity have the advantage of being able to conserve water, lower pollution, 238, and reduce CO2 emissions. Solar panels change the albedo of the surface, so if used on a very large scale, such as covering 20% of the Sahara Desert, could change global weather patterns. Environmental damage. The ability of biomass and biofuels to contribute to a reduction in CO2 emissions is limited because both biomass and biofuels emit large amounts of air pollution when burned and in some cases compete with food supply. Furthermore, biomass and biofuels consume large amounts of water and land, sometimes land that could be used for food production. Furthermore, there can be carbon leakage from biomass production. Nevertheless, it could still help reduce carbon dioxide emissions and play an important role as a method of dispatchable generation. Thanks. We will meet with next topic.